When we studied the book of Ecclesiastes several months ago now, we made the observation that there's nothing new under the sun. And I think Daniel 3 this evening is going to convince us that that's absolutely the case. It's absolutely the case. We think we live in a strange world. It's not so strange. We'll find out in Daniel chapter 3, they face the exact same thing we're facing today. And I think it's the most troubling thing we face. It's listed under a number of titles and under a number of names: tolerance, broad-mindedness, open-mindedness. The latest social retread is multiculturalism. The title, Daniel 3, is When They Call for Open-Mindedness. And it's a time when King Nebuchadnezzar, and I'm not going to read all the verses, we don't have time, open it, scan them as we talk. King Nebuchadnezzar decided to set up an image of gold, 90 feet high, 9 feet wide, set it out for people to see, and made the observation that when you hear the horns, flute, zither, lyre, verse 4, pipes, and all kinds of music, you must fall down and worship the image of gold that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. And whoever does not fall down and worship will immediately be thrown into a blazing furnace. You believe what I believe. You don't have a choice. You must believe what I believe is right. We're taught as members of the body of Christ from those first weeks and months of growing up that we do unto others as we would have them do unto us. And we understand that. And we're taught very early in our lives that we need to be mindful of what we believe and be aware of what others believe. And the new culture, but it's not new, Daniel 3 is reminding us that, the new culture tells us that we also must believe what everyone else believes. And then it changes slightly to this: you can't disagree with anything that I believe. And that's the new tolerance. You must tolerate what others believe, and we do. We have the right of choice in America. We have a right of religion, if you will, in America. There are very few rights of Christianity in America because the new tolerance has taken over. You must agree with what I say, and I'm very intolerant of what you believe. I'm very intolerant of Christian values. I'm very intolerant of what you stand for. That's what we see in America, but it was here hundreds of years ago. 3 men give us the example this evening that we must follow. We must be like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. We must have the same convictions they have. We must have the same fortitude. We must have the what if or even if religion, if you will, that they practiced. And we'll see that in a very definite statement in a moment. Multiculturalism is defined by those who study Hebrew and tell us what verse 5 is telling us. It's the definition of multiculturalism. The verse tells us that when you hear horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipes, and all kinds of music, that's the key. It didn't even mean that this music would be played in harmony. It doesn't suggest that this is something that can be understandable or discernible, that can be beneficial in any way. When you hear instruments, multitude of instruments, and all kinds of music being played on this list of instruments, you must bow down. You must bow down. And it doesn't matter what you believe about being told to bow down to multiculturalism. All kinds of music is the key. These instruments. And as soon as they heard the sound, and it makes a list of these instruments, verse 7, and again all kinds of music, all the peoples, nations, and men of every language fell down and worshiped the image of gold that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. The whole world, the whole known world in this kingdom responded. They had been taught, hadn't they? They had been brainwashed, we might suggest. They had been brought to their knees, literally, by the concern for their life. And that's what Nebuchadnezzar, the king of that time, wanted to be in place. He wanted you to be in fear of your life, and it doesn't matter what you believe, you must practice what I have set up, and you must respond to what I have suggested to be in your heart as well as your posture. Some astrologers came forward and denounced the Jews. Remember, a whole packet full of Jews had been brought to Babylon. We know of 4, but others. We see the story of 4, others were there. And they were talked up to King Nebuchadnezzar. And they said, "King, live forever. You've issued a decree, and everyone who hears the music and makes a list, and do not fall down and worship," verse 11, "and that whoever does not fall down and worship will be thrown into a blazing furnace. But there are some Jews whom you've set over the affairs of the province of Babylon." Chapters 2 and 1 prepare us for these men being favored by God, being blessed by God, being put in positions of authority by God, being appreciated by King Nebuchadnezzar. My suggestion is probable that these men were jealous of these Jewish men given authority and having favor with this king, and were very pleased to get to make this report. Very pleased to point out the error of their way. But King Nebuchadnezzar was furious, verse 13, and he calls them in. And it says that, "Is it true that you do not serve my gods or worship the image of gold I have set up?" There's the key. Believe what I believe. Do what I tell you to do. You have no choice in the matter. You must or you die. My God, my image. And when you hear, and again, a list of the instruments, all kinds of music repeated again, it wasn't a mistake. If you're ready to fall down, I make very good, and worship the image I made, very good, but if you do not worship it, you will be thrown immediately into blazing furnace. Then what God will be able to rescue you from my hand? This is about pride. It's about power. And that's the essence of multiculturalism. My belief, my standard, I don't care about yours. You will bow down. Their reply needs to be written across our foreheads. It needs to be printed in our phylacteries if we were to follow the practice of the Pharisees, and put Jewish culture and Jewish scriptures and favorite sayings in a box and wear them on our shoulders and wear them across our arms. It needs to be understood. It needs to be proclaimed. It needs to be discussed at our tables with our young people before they've confronted it, so they can have a warning and be prepared. Hopefully practice their response, if you will. Their response. Still young men, in authority, but still young men. Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. If we're thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to save us from it, and he will rescue us from your hand, O King. But even if, hear those two words, even if, we're going to jump off of those two words in our Sunday morning sermon from Hebrews 12. as we receive guidance on Family and Friends Day about how we should live our life. Even if he does not, we want you to know, O King, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you've set up. Let's say it now. We'll repeat it in a moment. Do we have an even if Christianity about us? Do we have an even if resolve that no matter what should be stated before us, about us, to us, that we will stand up for the God of heaven and earth, Yahweh? An even if belief that it doesn't matter what our governor, what our mayors, what our kings, what our presidents, what any person in any place of authority in our life, we will not bow down to multiculturalism as a whole, suggesting that everything goes, anything and everything is okay. Or do we hold firm to Yahweh? What they said is easy to understand if you see that they knew that even if it took death, they would be delivered from King Nebuchadnezzar. Even if they met their death, as he suggested they could, they would not give in and go against their even if Christianity, if we can apply a New Testament post-Calvary phrase to the Old Testament. Even if. Well, he was furious, and his attitude toward them changed. It seems when he called them before him, he was giving them every opportunity to explain how these people who had come to him, they're called astrologers, how they had come there, had come before him, Chaldeans in the alternate renderings, and they must have misunderstood something. These people are under my control. They work for me. They're in charge of different areas of my kingdom. Surely there's something I'm missing here, so I'll just present to them what he presented. You need to do this. When you hear these, you must do that, or there's a consequence, and it's very clear what that consequence, because it's been stated around the kingdom. Everyone knows about it. He must have had the attitude that they're misunderstanding these things. They're not clear, perhaps. But when he was convinced that they were absolutely certain what their response would be, his attitude toward them changed. Very furious. Not only are we going to throw them into a place of fire, a furnace, but I want you to heat it up 7 times, and that's the complete number in the Hebrew system, the complete number of 7, and get the strongest soldiers to tie them up. I think what that means is not as if they would put up a fight in order to be able to push them in. There's nothing that suggests that was in their thinking, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. But these strongest men would be able to tie them up and tie the tightest knots, it seems to tell us. And I know if I were to tie some knots, you could get out easier than other people tying a knot. That seems to be what's suggested. But throw them in. And they were thrown in. And the men who were close to the door where they were thrown in, it was so hot, they were killed. So it was heated to the proper temperature. And the king leaped to his feet in amazement. When they were thrown in, verse 24, and asked his advisor, wasn't it 3 men that we tied up and threw into the fire? And this is where our elementary age teachers feel more comfortable proceeding from to teach the message. The other is fairly violent. The other is fairly maybe over the head of younger children to fully appreciate it. But the lesson we want them to learn is certainly revealed here. Someone is there. Someone is going to protect them. Their God, Nebuchadnezzar, your God, did exactly what we would have wanted him to do were we to make that choice. And certainly Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Look, I see 4 men walking around in the fire, unbound, unharmed. The fourth looks like a son of the gods. Not sure what that looked like. If you watch some of the old shows, Highway to Heaven or different ones, it seems to show people with a little bit of a radiance about them. Angels are depicted in Scripture and in pictures as being somewhat glowing. There's a glow about them. I'd love to see the rendering of what some would suspicion that to be like. But we know exactly who was being described. And Nebuchadnezzar approached the opening and shouted, Shadrach, Meshach, Abednego, servants of the most high God, come out, come here. That's when they wanted to obey his words. When someone changes and acknowledges, and whether they fully appreciate it or have appropriated the words they're saying, I would respond favorably to someone that shouts, servant of the Most High God. A beautiful set of words and a beautiful end of this story. Hamp read words that he repeated also at the end. To our young people, our elementary, the teachers will tell them that they saw the fire had not harmed their bodies. There was not a hair on their heads singed. Their robes were not scorched. There was no smell of fire on them. If you've ever had a house fire, that is a big deal. We woke up one Sunday afternoon in South Florida, one of our children still at home, and we realized there's a fire in the house. Took 30 days, we thought, and then it turned into 40 days and 40 nights, honest. 40 days and 40 nights we were outside of our house for them to come in and get not only the damage done, but the smell out. So this is a very detailed, a fireman would have a great appreciation for what was not there, having spent time around fires. Great detail of what wasn't there as related to them and their clothes and their body. And then we read the verses, praise be to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and to the angel who rescued his servants. They trusted in him, listen carefully, even if Christianity has a deep and abiding trust in God, even if Christianity that they had was willing to defy any earthly human command, no matter what authority. And even if Christianity of these 3 individuals was willing to, what does it tell us? Give up their lives rather than serve or worship any god except their own God. Trust at the beginning of the 3 things listed, but trust personified in the 3rd of those listings. I will die first before I go against Yahweh. I will die first. And what's great for us to realize is that would deliver them from King Nebuchadnezzar. if God delivered them through this, allowing them to die rather than rescuing them, it was still God allowing it and giving them, if you will, the recovery from Him. It's an easy decision, we might suggest. No, it's not. It's not. I don't want someone to walk in those double doors in 10 minutes with a machine gun and ask me, do you believe in God? And I'm going to kill you if you say you do. I don't want that to happen to any of us. But because we have this even if Christianity with a trust in God, and we will not follow any other's command, even if death is involved, we have to go through the process of growing in faith so that should it come, we will be ready to have that kind of faith. And it doesn't come casually, it doesn't come quickly, and it's not guaranteed. And I pray that I'm never in that position. But even if I will do those things, we at least have to have it here. You know, I say it often, we've got to have it in our mind so it can get to our heart. It's got to get to our emotions. It's got to get to that which channels our decisions and gives us the conviction that we need. It's got to be here first. And that's why we need to rehearse it to ourselves and to rehearse it with our older children and rehearse it with our younger children who are a little bit older and a little bit able to believe that we must serve God rather than man. And prepare, at least start the preparation in that regard. Those who study Daniel, I've been blessed to study it with people who love this book, give us a couple of guidance principles or points. It begins with a constancy. This wasn't the first time these young men had resisted giving in to the demands of King Nebuchadnezzar. We saw that in chapter 1. They used tact, they used wisdom, and they negotiated, if you will. We will do certain things. We don't have a choice, but we will not partake of your food designed to cause us to defile God. God granted them favor, and they were more healthy than others, and they were acknowledged that and put in special favor because their wisdom was personified. That's the kind of men they were already, or young men. That constancy. It's not this on again, off again. It's not hot one week, cold another. I'm excited when someone else gets me excited, but that's not really me 2 weeks later. That's not what this is about. It's not they're up and then they're down. They're in and then we're out. What we need today is constancy. And brothers and sisters, the Sunday night audience has it. You're proving yourself. You're going down that road. The second one is a conviction. The American Heritage Dictionary calls it a fixed or strong belief. When I hold a conviction about something, it means that we've weighed and measured it to the point that we've become convinced that it's true beyond a reasonable doubt and that anything that goes against it is false. And so that's encouraging us to put our faith to the test. Would you die even if Christianity? And maybe we need to make lists. If the governor of Alabama or the president of America, if some things were dictated to us in some form, what would be our response? And we have to put ourselves through the process, if you will, to come to a test that says, I've weighed it and I've measured it and I'm convinced beyond a reasonable doubt that to do anything different is false. Let's call it what it also could be, wrong. It could be wrong. And that's a requirement that we need to have. And there needs to be a confidence. Listen to their words. Verse 17, if we're thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to save us from it. And he will rescue us from your hand, O king. But even if he does not, even if, we want you to know that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold you have set up. There's a time in my life when a relative close to Terry and I suggested that sometimes we ought to just cross our fingers, or put our hands behind our back and cross our fingers and tell people we will do that. You know what this is supposed to mean from my generation of young people? If you say something and cross your fingers behind your back, that means you don't have to mean it, and you're not lying if you do that. But her comment was, maybe as Christians we ought to cross our fingers, put it behind our back, and tell them what they need to hear. Because if we do that, couldn't we live another 10 years and have some relationship with people and convince them of Christ and lead them to Christ and be a good example? And this person made a pretty strong list of what someone could do in a 10 or 20 year period if they just lived that period of time. And here's what I asked her, and she said it with all sincerity. I says, but isn't everything you are now saying and doing based upon that lie that you stated? There are people who can still do good in this world. There are people who can have a great influence over people, groups, states, nations in this world. But if it's based upon a lie, it's not pleasing to God. If it's not an even if Christianity based upon a belief, and it's been measured, the test has been run against it, and this is just what's right. And that would be wrong. Though some good could come from someone's life. And it takes courage. Saying what you believe and having a conviction about it and standing by it. Do you imagine they were afraid? Of course they were. Who wouldn't be? Jesus said this on this subject, do not fear those who kill the body. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego had been brought to that belief through Jewish teachings, even as young teenagers now living in a foreign land. It's amazing what young people can be taught at an early age. But be afraid of those who kill the body but are unable to kill the soul, but rather fear him who is able to destroy both soul and body in hell. Talking about God. God can allow that to occur because of choices we made, and it's because of Satan. But God allows that choice to have that result. I want to read you something. I'll be glad to make you a copy. It's in my office. It's in my home. It's in bold letters. It's in black and white until you get to one word, and it's colors. Listen to the word at the very end of this reading. And see if you'll take this for your own. See if this will become your even if resolution. It's called the Fellowship of the Unashamed. I am part of the Fellowship of the Unashamed. I have Holy Spirit power. The die has been cast. I've stepped over the line. The decision has been made. I am a disciple of His. I won't look back, let up, slow down, back away, or be still. My past is redeemed, my present makes sense, and my future is secure. I am finished and done with low living, sight walking, small planning, smooth knees, colorless dreams, tame visions, mundane talking, chintzy giving, and dwarfed goals. I no longer need preeminence, prosperity, position, promotions, plaudits, or popularity. I don't have to be right, first, tops, recognized, praised, regarded, or rewarded. I now live by presence, learn by faith, love by patience, live by prayer, and labor by power. My face is set. My gait is fast. My goal is heaven. My road is narrow. My way is rough. My companions few. My guide reliable. My mission clear. I cannot be bought, compromised, detoured, lured away, turned back, deluded, or delayed. I will not flinch in the face of sacrifice, hesitate in the presence of adversity, negotiate at the table of the enemy, ponder at the pool of popularity, or meander in the maze of mediocrity. I won't give up, shut up, let go, or slow down until I've preached up, prayed up, paid up, stored up, and stayed up for the cause of Christ. I am a disciple of Jesus. I must go till He comes, give till I drop, preach till all know, and work till He stops. And when He comes to get His own, He'll have no problems recognizing me. My colors will be clear. Let's be sure our colors are clear in a world that wants us to fit in and suggests that anything goes. And even if I will die for the cause of Christ, that's the Christianity that we're a part of. Choose again to be that person in your family, on your street, in your community, in this state. Will be a better place for it. Let's stand and sing, Larry.